also inspired because as you heard in my introduction, I am a former teacher from New York. I've only been in the area for about 3 years. I taught English language arts for almost 18 years. Right now, I'm an author. I wrote a book since the last time I was here because I've addressed FCA twice already. It was my honor. It was my pleasure to be here. And since then, I published a book. I just finished 2 other books. One of them happens to be an inspirational book, and I'm really excited about that. I also have a column, Southeast Missourian, and I do speaking like this. But I love young people, obviously. You don't continue to teach for 18 years because you know you guys can be a trip. So you don't stay in that for 18 years unless there's a love in your heart and an appreciation for young people. So that every chance that I get, even though I'm no longer teaching in the classroom every day, every opportunity that I get to talk to young people is a joy for me and a blessing. And so when I think about Black History Month, though, I don't know about you, but I know in my experience, a lot of times we think about the same people. You know, you hear about the Martin Luther King, you hear about your Sojourner Truth, and you hear about, it's sort of like this cheesy story. We listen to the story, and we learn facts about these people, and, it's sort of like, okay, so here we go. It's their story, it's their history, it's their journey. We file it away, and we go on about our business. That's what we tend to do, whether it's Black history, whether it's American history, no matter what, that's what we tend to do. It's their story. But I didn't come today just to share with you about somebody else's story. My heart's desire this morning is to talk about your story. Because here's the deal, young people. If you go to school every day, graduate, you walk across that stage, you get your diploma, and all you know is somebody else's history, and you have no understanding of how to apply that to your own lives, and the fact that every day you're writing your own story, then you totally missed the point, and we failed you. It's about your story. It's about your purpose. How many of you are part of FCA? Okay, so I'm dealing with some people who are people of faith. You have a purpose. And I want to just sort of inspire you, leave a little bit of something with you, talk about 2 people. They're not the Martin Luther Kings that you normally hear about, that we kind of pull out every time this year. This is not the Harriet Tubman story necessarily. This is about 2 other people. I'll tell you who they are in a moment. And it's about you. And it's about your purpose. Just as when I decided to leave teaching after 18 years, I had to make a decision about what my purpose was going to be. And so in this room, if you look around, there are all kinds of different people, there are different genders, there are different races in here. So just because it's Black History Month, this is not just about Black History Month. This is about an everyday life lessons for you. Because we do not want to be the kind of people who do, you may have seen this comic strip, the Peanuts comic strip. And the guy or the girl, can't even remember who it was, has the bow and the arrow, and they point it at the wall, and they let it rip. Boom, and that thing, right in that wall. And then the person goes, and they get a bucket of paint. And they take that paint, and wherever the arrow landed, they go draw the bullseye. Is that the way it's supposed to work? No, you're supposed to have the target set, and then you aim for the target, correct? And but we live our lives in such a way that we often just, wherever I end up is where I wanted to be. No. You need to be purposeful. The Bible says, for I know the plans that I have for you, saith the Lord. Right? Plans to prosper you, to give you a hope and a future. And so many of us are walking around without a hope or future, or we set our eyes only on somebody else's accomplishments and forget that we're writing our own story. So that's what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about 2 people who happen to be Missouri's own, from Missouri, 2 poets. And I don't have a whole lot of time, so turn your brain up to fast, because there's a lot to grasp. All right? But I'm purposely picking 2 people that we don't often hear about at this time. How many of you have ever heard of Langston Hughes? How many of you have ever heard of Maya Angelou? Okay, well, we're going to talk about those 2 today, but again, I'm not just going to talk about them, even though their stories are amazing, and they had to endure, and they had to persevere, and I know as I look in this room, I'm dealing with some people who may go home to issues that nobody knows about. And you come to school and people wonder why, your homework is not the most important thing to you, or you got a little bit of an attitude, because we don't know what you're dealing with. Am I right? And sometimes we laugh and we we joke and we hide. And then there are others who don't hide at all, and we wish they would, because everybody knows they're going through something. Because the teacher that sees them the first thing in the morning is going to be told. I've been there, I know. But I also know about what it is to persevere. I've been here before. I don't have time to go through my whole story, but I have a story too. I have a story too. I've taught for 18 years. I know what it is to see students cutting themselves, losing a student to suicide, more than one student. I know that there are hurts and there are real issues. And I also know that there are people who have everything seems to be wonderful in their lives. Nobody would ever guess, and maybe they do have wonderful lives. But as long as you're on this earth, you can believe that there's going to come situations, there will come situations that are going to require you to find hope and strength and inspiration and dig deep. Because I'm telling you, I never want to call like I had when I lost that student to suicide. It's not an option. We will learn how to persevere and endure, and we will take inspiration from other people's stories, but we will also write our own. That is an absolute that we must do. Let's talk a little bit about Langston Hughes. First of all, raise your hand again if you've ever heard of Langston Hughes. Okay, now, I want you to do something else. I'm going to tell you a few things about his life. And I don't want you to say anything, I'm going to read the room. If you are very familiar with his life, you're going in a moment, give me a thumbs up. If you absolutely know, you could name one thing about him, thumbs down. If you are like so-so about how much you know about Langston Hughes, you're going to go here. So once again, you can have a conversation, you know various things about his life, thumbs up. I don't got a clue who that Langston is. Down here, or, I can maybe tell you one thing. Here, when I count to 3, would you please put your hands high in the air so we can see? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I've got, can't see. I've got a wide range. Some have never, many, anybody up? Okay, that maybe one. And then many of you are here. Okay, well, let's talk about Langston Hughes, the poet, who was born right here, not here means Cape Girardeau, but in Missouri, Joplin, Missouri, in 1902 and died in 1967. But he lived many places. He lived in Mexico. He grew up mostly in Kansas. He was in Topeka, and in Topeka, he was in a white school. Here's this black guy, this black young man, boy, and he's in this white school because his mother fought for him, because the black school was, he was going to get an inferior education there, and it was out of the way. But they didn't want him at the white school. But his mama fought for him. And I don't know if he thought that was a good thing or not, because in that school, though there were people who were kind to him, there were people who were not. There was one teacher in particular who made fun of him because of the color of his skin. And again, this isn't just about black history. This is for all of us. There's a message in this for every single one of us. I don't care what color you are. This is just history. This is just life. And so the teacher made fun of him because of the color of his skin. And because of that, some of the kids would chase him home with tin cans and rocks and stones. But there were others who were kind to him. And so he learned what we must all learn, and that is not to hate all people. He began to believe that most people were basically good. But the interesting thing about his story, he was a bright young man. In the midst of this situation, one interesting thing about his story was that his teacher in his class named him. You know how you have class flirt, class clown, all of them. I don't know which one you guys are, but he got named class poet. Now, Langston Hughes is a well-known poet. Now, the weird, you say, so what's the big deal? Okay, he's named class poet. Well, he's a poet. Well, he wasn't a poet. He had never even written a poem. He had never even written a poem, and yet he was named class poet by his class and his teacher. Why? He was named class poet simply because he was black. And in their minds, here's a little black boy in the class. Poetry requires rhythm. Black folks, we all know, have rhythm. He'll be the class poet. How interesting is that? And so, I'm sharing this because what's interesting to me is that, again, he had never written a poem. But he's down in history as one of the greatest poets we have. And so what began as something he considered stereotypical, They were going to put him in a box. Young black boy. We're going to put you in a box because you have, this is where you fit. So he says it was based on stereotypes. It was based on racism. And let's apply that to our lives. There will always be people who will put you in a box, who will judge you based on your background, based on how you dress, based on what they see, based on what they expect from you. But notice what he did. He took that which was stereotypical and what he deemed racist, and he turned it around. That's good. It almost became the self-fulfilling prophecy. Yes, okay. She didn't necessarily see it as who I was because of, great qualities and characteristics that I exemplified. She saw it based on my race. But even that which people see based on their own prejudices and stereotypes, you can turn around for your benefit. I'm saying to you what I said before at the beginning, and that is this. I'm not here just to talk about Langston Hughes. I'm not here just to talk about my Angelou. If all you know, when you walk across the graduation stage, is somebody else's story and not your own, you've missed the point. So when I talk today, how can you apply these life lessons to your life? Can I get an amen?
Amen.
That's good. And so he turned it around. In spite of what this woman was thinking about him. And he was a lonesome guy. He was influenced greatly by his grandmother. She was a proud woman. She had great influence over his life. And because he was so lonely, he said that's when books, that's how it says in his autobiography, The Big C, that's when books happened to him. He learned to find joy in books. But he remembers that his grandmother would tell him these stories. And in her stories, there was always a heroic ending. Her stories weren't about defeat. Her stories weren't about, we talk a lot about this during Black History. We talk about the struggle. We talk about the difficulties. And they're there. But in his grandmother's stories, there was always victory. And nobody cried in his grandmother's stories. So when she died, he didn't cry either. Because it said something about his grandmother's stories told him that it was useless to cry. We could debate that. We could debate how useful crying is, but in his mind, from her stories, there was no point. And so he persevered. He persevered, and he goes down in history. The one who had never written a poem when that was pronounced upon him goes down in history as one of the greatest poets that we have. And that's a powerful lesson. I want to read one poem to you, one of my favorite poems as we transition from Langston Hughes and talk about my Angelou. I love doing this in my class. It's powerful. It'll speak to you. It's not just one of my favorite. It's not just my favorite Langston Hughes poem. It's one of my favorite poems. Period. It's called Mother to Son. Raise your hand if you've ever heard it. He sort of heard it. He was half awake, half asleep in class. Like most of us in class. Hopefully not right now, okay? But it's called Mother to Son. Listen to this. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stain. It's had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor. There. But all the time, I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark, but there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find this kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I still going, honey. I still climbing. And light for me ain't been no crystal stain. She wants to clap, but let me tell you what you do with poetry. Who knows what you do when you get, there you go. They're doing it right up here in Bay Central. That's right, after you hear a poem, you snap. In this poem, the metaphors in this poem, this mother, the persona, the narrator of this poem, she's talking to her son. Langston Hughes wrote this poem. And this mother is saying to her son, life for me ain't been a crystal stair. You're a metaphor for a good life. A life that's been well, delicately handled. No, that's not what life has been. And some of you can relate to that. And some of you can't. But perhaps you know somebody who has gone through some things. or you will. And the mother said, life we ain't been no crystal state. It ain't been easy. But she said they had tats. Look at those metaphors. Tats, splinters, boards torn up. Oh, bare. It's been rough. It's been a hot mess. Then she says, but every one of us can perhaps, or most of us can point to something. It's been this, it's been that, I went through that. But, she says to her son, no excuses.
That's good.
All the while, she said, I've been climbing on. I'm still going. I'm still here. Just like the stories his grandmother would tell him, there was always a heroic ending, that no matter what, never, ever, ever quit. I look back, when I think about the struggles, since we're talking about Black history, you think about the slavery, you think about those people, and you go, how in the world did they persevere? But there was something within them that carried on, that refused to quit, that refused to die. And so this mother is telling her son, look at me, look at what I've gone through, but all the while, I'm still going. And it's been rough, and it's been hard, and I'm still climbing, and I'm still turning corners. So you got no excuse.
Wow.
And the same I say to you, you have no excuse. I don't want to hear, well, because I'm Black, that's why they ain't hiring me. Let's just get real. If I had $1 for every time I heard that. And I still go back to the scripture where God says, well, I know the plans that I have for you.
Yep.
In other words, you are without excuse
Yep.
to give you a hope in the future. Nowadays, things have kind of shifted, and it's because I'm white, I didn't get the job. Because they said they had to hire 5 Black people. Asian, Hispanic, whatever, a woman, whatever. We got all kinds of stuff. You got no excuse. And this is the message that the mother shares with her son in this poem. Powerful. Let's transition to Maya Angelou. So I'm going to ask you the same question. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Maya Angelou. Okay, I want to read the room again. Thumbs up if you are very familiar with this details in her life. Thumbs down if you don't have a clue. And here if you got an so-so. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Maya Angelou. All right, well, let me introduce you to Maya Angelou, who she was born in 1928. She just died in 2014. And I remember my former students contacted me because we would do her poetry. And a few years ago, the kids loved her poetry. And a few years ago, she came to New York, to Albany, New York. I taught in Hudson, New York. It's upstate. Though I'm originally from New York City. She came to Albany, and the community, the kids wanted to go see her. And the community gave money, and we got a few buses, and we took the kids, and we were right there. I was way up there, but I was in the same room with Dr. Maya Angelou. And I remember telling my kids, I said, my students, I said to them, I said, listen, this is an experience of a lifetime. She's getting up in age. We don't know how much longer we will have her. And she's coming to our area. And he wanted to go. And it's true. She just passed away in 2014. And I had students who contacted me and was like, it's Maya Angelou. I'm like, my heart was like, oh! But she was born in St. Louis, Missouri. She spent most of her life being raised by her grandmother, and she was born as Marguerite Johnson. And she spent most of her life being raised by her grandmother in Stamps, Arkansas. And her grandmother, similar to Langston Hughes' grandmother, had great influence on her. Sister Henderson, they called her, because she was a church woman. She called her Mama. Well, she was like Langston Hughes' grandmother had influence on him. Her grandmother had influence on her. And like in Langston Hughes' grandmother, the stories were good stories and heroic stories. Well, her grandmother, she wasn't, I guess you would say maybe not, she had maybe a little bit more than other Black people. When I say that, I only mean that she had a store. She was able to help other Black people to be able to come and buy goods and stuff. And so in Arkansas, Maya and Marguerite and her brother Bailey lived with their grandmother and their uncle at the rear of the store. But she was not very self-confident. She thought she was too tall. She was a tall woman. She thought she was unattractive. She just didn't, she wasn't living with her mom. She had issues, okay? And so she had these self-esteem issues that many of us often have, particularly young women, and boys don't tend to help it. But I want to tell you about, they do. Gentlemen, think about the things that you said. She really suffered with self-esteem. And it didn't help because at 10 years old, she returned from visiting her mother in St. Louis, and she was very withdrawn. And I'm not looking at my watch because I'm tired of you guys. I'm looking at my watch because I know that you're on a schedule, tight schedule. But she came back at 10 from St. Louis, back to her grandmother where she was living, and she was withdrawn, and she would not speak. Dare I say she could not speak to anyone but her brother Mary, whom she loved very much. And let me tell you why. She was in St. Louis, about a 10-year-old. Her mother's boyfriend raped her. Wow. And she had to testify. And she did. And he was locked up. So she told what he did. He was locked up, but he was released very early. He was released, I think, after a day. They let him out. And the next thing you know, he was found dead. He'd been murdered. Presumably by her uncles for what he did to her. Now, we could have another conversation. We could have a deep conversation about whether he got what he deserved. Right? But in her mind, it was the fact that she spoke that caused him to die. It was the words that she said. She told what he did. And when she opened her mouth and spoke, now a man is dead. And so for her, I gotta stop speaking. I can't speak. Because my words were so powerful that a man is dead as a result of what I said. And it was nearly a year. Silence. She went to, except for her brother. I don't know how that works. She went to school. She got her grades. She went to church. She did not speak to anyone other than her brother. Could not. Well, one day, a teacher, name is Mrs. Bertha Flowers. Remember, this is her story. You're writing your own. Maybe you haven't gone through that. But whatever it is you go through, or sometimes we just shut down, we withdraw. We don't trust people anymore. We don't trust ourselves. Well, one day, Mrs. Bertha Flowers, she was a teacher, she came by the store. And her grandmother had Marguerite or Maya help her carry her groceries home. She had great respect for Miss Flowers. Great respect. Because she was what she called the black aristocrat of Stamps, Arkansas. She wasn't like others, but she dressed well. She was beautiful. She was graceful. And so she just had such admiration for this woman whom in the midst of other people living in poverty just sort of carried herself like, my aunt would say, like her dookie don't stink. Sorry. My aunt would say other words, but I won't say those. Her dookie. But she carried herself. She did. She just carried herself differently. So she has such admiration for this teacher. Well, so she goes to her house, and when she's there at the woman's house, now remember, she doesn't talk. She goes to the woman's house, and the woman begins to talk to her. And she says, I hear that you've been going through some things. I hear that you won't speak. I hear that you're very bright. And she just begins to talk to her. And she brings out these tea cookies that she made just for this young lady who is hurting, who feels ugly, who feels unworthy. When she spends time with her, and she gives her, she says, I made these just for you. And then the woman pulls out a book, Tale of Two Cities. And she begins to read the book. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And when she's reading it, Maya Angelou says, there must be music. She's thinking, there must be music notes on the page. Because when she reads it aloud, it's like music. And the woman says to her, she says, listen, it takes the human voice. Books are great. But it takes the human voice to infuse meaning, to bring it, to give it life. It takes the human voice. And so she's given her a book, and she said, I want you to take it home. And not only do I want you to read it, but I need you to read it aloud. And when you come back, I need you to recite it to me. But she told her how powerful the words were. She said, in fact, language is so powerful, try saying a sentence in a whole bunch of different ways and see how it changes. I've done that with my students before. Language is powerful. Think about the sentence, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Say it as many ways as you possibly can. I don't want to go. 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 Now, when I say I don't want to go, it kind of sounds like somebody else may want to go, but I don't want to go. When I say I don't want to go, it sounds like somebody just said that I do want to go. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go kind of sounds like I may need to go, but I don't want to go. I don't want to go might mean I might want to stay. So she begins to talk to her about the power that comes in words. And so she said to her, how do you like that? After she finished reading, after she gives her these tea cookies, and even said, I'm going to send some home for your brother Bailey. She said, how do you like that? To a girl, she asked her a question. The girl doesn't speak because she has been violated, and she is shut down, and she had to go through some stuff. But she realized this woman expects me to answer. And she managed to say, yes, ma'am. Wow. And she says, it was the least I could do, but it was also the most I could do. But she responded to this woman with a yes, ma'am. One person. And then she went home. She was so excited. She went skipping and bounding. And she liked me. She made tea cookies for me. And this is what I want to say to you. The power that you have is phenomenal. Here's a young girl who wasn't speaking, and she goes down in history as one of the greatest voices that we ever had. Because one person took the time to invest into her. I don't know, but I'm going to venture that there are people that you encounter even in this building who invest in you, who care about you, whether here, whether at home, whether at church, in your communities. There are people who are investing in you because they see something in you that's greater than where you are right now. They see a class poet in you. That's good. Though you've never written a poem. They see a voice, though you're not saying a word. And they're pulling that out. But I don't want you to just think about what you can receive. I want you to think about being a Mrs. Flowers. You see the people sometimes, the new student who comes in and they're by themselves. The one that gets picked on all the time. The one that's hurting. The one that maybe doesn't dress like everybody else. Why don't you be a Mrs. Flowers? You reach out to somebody. You let them know that they're valuable. That's good. You've got power. You can help other people come into their own. I can't even imagine what my life, what my career would have been like without my Angelou. I'm going to read her poem because I'm running out of time. But I want to read this poem to you really quickly. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Raise your hand if you've ever heard it. Yes. That bell is going to ring and it's of the devil. Devilish bell. I cast you out. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. This is my Still I Rise. Remember what she's gone through. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may try me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides. Just like hawks springing high. Still, I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bad head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my hardiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard? Because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shade, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Wow.
That'll work.
With all that she went through, with all that she went through, and with all that you have gone through or may go through, you rise. And I stood in front of my class for 18 years, and on occasion I had the revelation. When I think about the end, where it says, out of the huts of history's shame was slavery. Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. I'm leaving behind the nights of terror and fear. But guess what? I'm going to bring with me the gifts that my ancestors gave. My people were not even allowed to be able to read. I was aware that not only did I know how to read, but that I was teaching others to read also. Talk about how things have changed in my favor. You guys are here. You are the dream and the hope of the slave. This is not just about black people. This is not just about former slaves. This is about everybody. Even 100 years after slavery, when Dr. King said, I have a dream that my 4 children will grow up in a certain kind of world where we would all be able to sit down together, look around the room. You are sitting and standing and walking on the path that others have paved for you.
Wow.
If you know the Lord, you even have a greater advantage.
Wow.
You go write your history, people.
Wow.
Thank you so much.